Hi, United in Recovery family. We're starting a new message series tonight. It's that back to school time of year. And so we thought it'd be a good time in recovery to get back to the basics. Now, when it comes to back to school, some of you might have people, you might work in the school systems, you might have kids in your home in the school system. You might be thanking God right now that the school system no longer runs your life because your family's not in it right now. But regardless, we all remember how that felt when you kind of have to go back in. And the first part of learning often when you go back in is reviewing what you've already learned, but some of which you've forgotten, some of which you've gotten away from. And we want to do that in recovery of say, what's back to the basics. So we're going to spend August looking at step 1, step 2, and step 3. Step 1, that we admit we're powerless. Step 2, that we come to believe that a power greater than ourselves can restore us to sanity. And step 3, that we turn our life and will over to God as we understand God. So tonight I want to talk to you about step 1. Admitted that I was powerless over my addictions and compulsive behaviors, that my life had become unmanageable. How can this be the first step towards sobriety? It sounds awful. It sounds like we're giving up when actually we're taking the first step, the step we've needed to take forever. It's funny, the most important thing we can do looks like the worst thing we can do because it's not giving up. It's being honest for the first time about the enemy we're fighting. Now, I struggle with step 1. I once had a psychological kind of personality evaluation. And the counselor looked at me after it was all done and was reading through the results, and she said this to me. She said, "You're the type of person who you will ask for help." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll do that." And then she goes, "You'll ask for help right before you drown. The moment before you drown, you'll ask for help." And then she told me, she said, "So here's the thing. Whenever it first occurs in your head, maybe I should get somebody else to help me. Maybe this is a little more I can handle on my own. Whenever that first occurs to you, right then at that moment, you've probably already waited too long to ask for help. So as soon as that happens, go ahead and ask for help, right?" Why is it so hard for people like me, maybe people like you? Our pride, right? We want to do it on our own. How many times have you tried to overcome a bad habit on your own? How many? Hundreds? Thousands? No way to count, right? Because we want to do it. We don't want to tell anybody about it. We want to do it, and maybe we'll tell somebody about it years later after we've long conquered it. But funny how those years don't come, right? Now, Jesus talked about this in his ministry. And here's what Jesus said. There was a dinner. And at that dinner, a lot of people who didn't have great reputations in the community were coming up to Jesus. And this was really kind of a formal thing. And those folks shouldn't have been kind of relating to the guest of honor, but he was talking to them. I mean, those folks should have been like off at the back edges of the room, but they felt comfortable coming up to him. And people said, "Jesus, why do you let them do that?" And Jesus looked and he said, "It's not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick," right? If you want Jesus in your life and you think you're completely healthy, there's not much room for him to move in your life. If you want recovery, if you want peace and sobriety and sanity, but you've already got it all figured out and there's nothing anybody can tell you or do for you, well, there's not much room for recovery in your life. So today's about humility. Today's about saying, not only was I powerless, but I still am, without a power greater than me. Without Jesus, without the people Jesus puts in my life, without my sponsor, my accountability partner, without my recovery group, without practicing these principles in all my affairs that I've learned. Or maybe today's the first time you've ever begun to hear about or work step 1. And don't worry, we've all been there. We know the only thing that has to happen for you to work step 1 perfectly is your ego has to die. And I say that at least the bad part of your ego has to die. The part of your ego that makes us prideful and arrogant, that's all. And let me tell you, that part of your ego, it doesn't want to die. It dies a hard death. We cling tightly to that. We like that. It's a security blanket. and it needs to go. But here's the deal. If you're here in person tonight, United in Recovery, you've got people all around you who've let their ego die that death and who can tell you that what's on the other side of that is greater than anything you could imagine yet. And if you're not here yet, I hope you have a community like that. And if you're online, I hope maybe you'll think about reaching out to somebody who can be that community for you, or come here on a Monday night. So as we go to our open share groups, as we think about conversations we want to have with sponsors or accountability partners this week, let's think about, where do we need to work step one? Where do we need to admit we're powerless so that we can be open to a power greater than ourselves, doing something we could never do for ourselves? I hope you're doing well tonight. God bless you. Hope to see you soon.